All right, welcome. Today we're going to demystify data analytics. We're going to take what seems like a really complex world of numbers and algorithms and turn it into a simple, powerful story about how to make smarter decisions. So let's jump right in.
So, have you ever really thought about this? It feels like some kind of mind reading, right? You're browsing for one thing and suddenly, boom, Amazon is showing you 3 other things you didn't even know you wanted. Well, I promise you it's not magic. The answer is data analytics. And by the time we're done here, you're going to know exactly how they do it.
Okay, before we get to all the really cool predictive stuff, we've got to build a solid foundation. Let's start at square one. What are we even talking about when we say data and analytics?
First things first, data. Just think of data as the raw ingredients. It's just a collection of facts and figures. You know, every purchase the customer makes, every click on a website, daily temperature readings. By itself, it's kind of meaningless, right? It's just the basic building block for everything else we're about to do.
And this is where the magic happens. Data analytics is the engine that takes that giant pile of raw facts and turns it into something incredibly useful. It's the whole process of cleaning, organizing, and looking at that data to answer questions, find patterns, and, most importantly, make decisions based on actual evidence, not just a hunch. Now, here's the thing. Analytics isn't just one big process. It's really more like a journey, where you're asking deeper and deeper questions. And this journey is super cool because it takes us from looking in the rearview mirror, understanding what happened in the past, to looking through a telescope to shape the future.
Our first stop is descriptive analytics. This is the most common and straightforward type. It's all about hindsight. It looks at all your past data and just summarizes what went down. Think about a store owner looking at a report of total sales from last year. It's not explaining why. It's just telling you, point blank, this is what happened.
Next up, we put on our detective hats. This is diagnostic analytics. It takes the what we just learned and starts digging for the why. So, if sales went up last quarter, why? Was it that new marketing campaign we ran? Or maybe a competitor went out of business? This is all about finding the root cause, moving from just seeing what happened to actually understanding it.
Okay, so we've looked back. Now, let's look forward. This is where analytics gets incredibly powerful. We're talking about 2 key types here, predictive and prescriptive. They sound a lot alike, but trust me, the difference between them is a total game changer.
So, check this out. The real shift here is in the question we're asking. Predictive analytics is like a weather forecast. It uses data to make a really educated guess about what's likely to happen. But prescriptive analytics, it takes that forecast and tells you whether you should bring an umbrella, wear a jacket, or maybe just stay home. It doesn't just predict the future, it recommends what you should do about it. That's the leap from just being proactive to being strategic.
All right, we get the what and the why. So how do people actually do this stuff? Let's pop open the Analyst Toolbox and take a look at some of the core concepts and tools they use every single day.
You know, an analyst has a whole arsenal of tools. You've got BI or business intelligence tools for making those cool interactive dashboards, statistical tools to do the heavy math. Data mining tools are like digital bloodhounds, sniffing out hidden patterns in massive amounts of data. And then you have machine learning, or ML tools, which build those predictive models we were talking about. And of course, visualization tools, which turn all those boring spreadsheets into charts and graphs that we can actually understand.
Okay, this one sounds complicated, but stick with me. The best way to think about hypothesis testing is like a courtroom trial. You start with something called the null hypothesis, which is basically the assumption that the defendant is innocent, that there's nothing new or interesting going on. The analyst, like a prosecutor, then gathers data as evidence to see if they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the null hypothesis is wrong. It's how companies make sure they're not making big decisions based on just random luck.
But, you know, just like in a real trial, things can go wrong. Mistakes can be made. In statistics, there are 2 main types of errors you can run into when you're testing a hypothesis, and it's always a tricky balancing act between them.
And this is the key takeaway, right? It's all a balancing act. A type 1 error is a false alarm. It's your smoke detector going off when you're just making toast. A little annoying, but nobody gets hurt. A type 2 error, though, is a missed threat. That's when there's a real fire and the alarm stays silent. That could be a catastrophe. So analysts have to decide which risk is worse for their specific problem and tune their approach.
Okay, another big one you'll hear about is the correlation coefficient. It sounds fancy, but it's just a simple score, from -1 to +1, that tells you how 2 different things are related. A +1 means they're in perfect sync,
When ice cream sales go up, so do sales of sunglasses. A negative one means they're perfect opposites. It's just a super quick way to see if two things are kind of dancing together. Okay, enough theory. Let's get to the good stuff. How does all this actually play out in the real world to create some serious impact? This is where all those numbers finally become a story of success.
So let's circle all the way back to where we started, Amazon. That magic recommendation engine? It's a powerful data science technique called collaborative filtering. Basically, their system churns through an unbelievable amount of data. We're talking over 152 million customer purchases to find patterns. It's basically saying, hey, people who bought the same things you did also ended up buying this.
And get this. This isn't just some neat little feature on their website. It is a core, absolutely critical part of their business. A mind-blowing 35% of all of Amazon's sales come directly from those recommendations. 35%! Now that is the power of analytics.
But look, you don't have to be Amazon to make this work. Let's take a look at a much smaller company, Viral Media. They had a YouTube channel with some subscribers, but their videos just weren't getting the views they wanted. So instead of just guessing, they turned to the data.
And they got systematic about it. They didn't just throw stuff at the wall to see what stuck. They analyzed who was watching, what content kept people engaged, and even used A/B testing, which is just hypothesis testing in the real world, to figure out which video thumbnails got more clicks. They let the evidence tell them what to do, not their gut feelings.
And the results, they speak for themselves. By listening to what their data was telling them, Viral Media saw their average views shoot up by 30%, and their subscriber growth got a 20% boost. These are real-world wins that came directly from applying these simple analytical steps.
So we've walked through the definitions, the different types, the tools, and some really cool real-world examples. But what does this all boil down to for you? Whether you're running a business or just trying to make better decisions in your own life.
This quote here really just nails it. When you strip everything else away, data analytics is about one thing, moving from guesswork to evidence. It's the ultimate tool for creating strategies that are smart, effective, and have a real shot at working, no matter what field you're in. So, I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. In the world we live in today, data is being created all around us, all the time. In your job, in your personal projects, everywhere. That data is telling a story, full of insights and opportunities. The only question left is, are you listening? Thanks for tuning in.